your journey to lean with IRMC. Better health, better life.
Indiana in the Morning, presented by First Commonwealth Bank, and our segment at this time brought to you by Marcus & Mack, voted best law firm, best personal injury lawyer, 3 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. Visit them online at marcusandmack.com. And if it's Friday at 7:46, it's got to be Bob Pollock of the Extension Office. Bob, how you doing today?
Good, very good.
How was your Christmas?
Very nice.
Excellent. Glad to hear. So, Christmas is now in the rearview mirror. All the presents have been opened, and the seed catalogs have probably come in. But one of the things that I wanted to focus on was, well, let's play into the theme a little bit. We've got New Year's coming up, so New Year's resolutions for the gardener, whether they are taking care of the big number of acres or they have the small porch top planters. What are some things that maybe people should be keeping in mind as we now go into the new year?
And we could take a little twist on that and kind of maybe look into what might be coming forward, or what are the trends that we might be seeing in 2025.
Yeah, why don't we start with that, actually?
And that actually, there's some interesting thoughts there, and of course anybody can do a search and kind of come up with what people are talking about and discussing as possible trends for the upcoming year. But and you'll find lists out there of things, but just kind of the top 10 maybe. And we can and I think part of this, you look at where you are in the country, and some things might be of a higher priority in certain parts of the country than others. So they may not be necessarily trending here, but they might be somewhere. But overall, one of the things is the rise in the use of native plants, and we've been seeing that for a while. So that's not necessarily new, but it continues to be a trend in things that people are looking at and considering when they're purchasing plants. And then not only just native species, but even they call them navatars. But actually it's the native cultivars. So they kind of took two words,
okay, and they
natives
made it
and cultivars.
Yeah,
and
gotcha.
Put those two words together. So you might see that. But, and there's a number of reasons why we might be looking at that. And it might be looking at, well, what are plants that maybe we don't have to care for as much because they're
natural
native
to this environment,
natural or native to our area, and so they might do better. And so that those plants vary, of course, as you go across the country, what might be natural or native to a given area. But just using more of those types of plants and considering those in the landscape. Redefining perfection. That's a
yeah.
There's a lot packed in there, but what might have been perfect, has been perfect, might not be perfect for the future. It might not work as well. So a lot of different things to consider there.
So when you're talking like that, are you talking like techniques or?
Yes, it could be techniques, or it could be ways we look at things, or just how you design the landscape.
Okay.
And that kind of leads into where you might design things for more eco-friendly, water-wise gardening, where we consider plants that maybe don't need watered as often. And that can go back to that native plant too, where we're trying to stick a plant in a square hole and it's round.
Yeah, gotcha. Square hole, round peg, or vice versa.
But that just how we care for. So it might be not as well, maybe we don't want to groom it as much. That higher maintenance, you could kind of fit higher maintenance into that also.
Yeah, so we're looking at low maintenance plants in this case.
Yes, so the opposite.
All right, so I actually did get a question from a friend of mine. They want to do some backyard gardening of their own, but they have a really small space to work with, and they're looking at planter boxes. Is there a sort of material that you would recommend, whether it be like plastic versus wood versus ceramic, or even something else along those lines?
Yeah, so there's a lot of options there. And you can kind of look at it from fitting into the materials that you have, whether it's, your house, trying to fit it in so that it blends in with. And there's all kind of different ways you can do that. You can build things out of pallets, if you want to.
Yeah, definitely.
Or we can use, treated wood, or we can use natural woods. Of course, sometimes we'll get into the woods that tend to stand up better, like the cedars and things like that have more natural resistance to rot or decay. And that's the big reason we would maybe choose a treated wood over a non-treated wood, just because of how long it lasts. Because you're putting soil in there, it's going to be subject to moisture all the time. There's a lot of different stone or block systems that you can use these days, that all kind of different colors, styles, shapes. So really,
the options are limitless. But is there a preferred? Because I know that with maybe like ceramic, like the ceramic or stone, they can hold water a little bit better than, say, plastic would.
Yeah, although, they both can hold moisture. You always want to, if you're using a container, we always want to have a drainage ability,
right?
So that it won't just sit in water, whether we overwater it or whether we get natural rain to fill that up, and then we're sitting in water, and then we got to dump the pot out.
Yeah.
So that still lots of, and you can design that too. How big do you need it? Do you need to be able to move it around? Do you want to have a container that you put on wheels? If you have a surface where you can move that around, maybe it's in an area where there's sun part of the day, but you need to be able to move that as the sun moves.
As the sun moves.
Yeah.
And you know what, that actually does help, because I've seen those types of things on the wheels, and they have areas on them that basically if you set the thing on it and it drains, it'll still drain through the barrier.
Yes. So and there's containers
specifically made for that too.
That will, you can fill it with water and it'll kind of regulate the amount of water that the plant's able to get. So, and that would be a little bit more carefree, less maintenance type of system that you can choose.
All right, that's pretty good. If you have a question for Bob, you still have time to call 724-479-1160, 724-349-WCCS are the numbers to call.
And then, how permanent does it need to be?
Yeah, true. If you're going to attach it to the side of a railing or something like that,
right.
Or if you would rather be able to take it in if it does get cold.
Yeah.
So a lot of things that one would have to consider, even if you're just starting out with as they called it, back porch style.
Yes.
Or patio planting.
And it's always good to start small. If you've never done it before, try it out on a small scale, see how it goes, and then you can expand, as you learn the needs of the plants, or you change plants, see what grows best and maybe doesn't, and then you can swap those out. And
I think one of the best ways for people to get into the gardening, and is the way that I have always seen gardening, is with vegetables and the good flowers. But I kind of gravitate more towards the food. Maybe a small herb garden or something along those lines. That kind of gives you the idea of what you need to do, I think, right?
And any plants that will mature in a shorter period of time. So you can grow, radishes and lettuces and things that don't take a whole season to grow, like a tomato.
Yeah, tomato plants are always a good idea.
So
I actually tried one of those topsy-turvers one year. The yield wasn't good, but I don't think it was getting enough sun. But there you go. But no, I actually like the idea of a plant that doesn't need a long time to mature. So
that way,
we're looking at, as you said, tomatoes, radishes, vegetables like that. Herbs definitely fall into that category.
Yeah, and some of the, and then you can narrow that down into some of the cool season crops and warm season crops. Some of the cool season crops also have a shorter period of time. The spinach, the kales, things like that you can put in, and then you can rotate that out. You can plant successions. Once those seeds germinate, and you can plant direct seed, so you can start things that way. If you're trying to start early in the year, then you maybe start your plants indoors and then transfer them outdoors as the weather permits.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if you have any kind of controlled environment growing, a greenhouse, a little hoop house, a way to cover those plants, then, that's another way that you can start things sooner, in our environment, because with winter, it takes a while. One of the big things we run into here, not only the cold, but the amount of light.
Yes.
The length of the day, the quality of the light that we get over the winter months. So that's another thing, the supplemental lighting. As you push the seasons, then we need to get into those things to be able to grow a good crop.
All right. Well, Bob, we're just at the mark. Thanks very much for coming in this week, and I wish you nothing but the best in 2025.
Likewise.
Thank you, Bob. Bob Pollock of the Extension Office joining us this morning on Indiana in the Morning, presented by First Commonwealth Bank. Our interviews presented by Marcus & Mack, voted best law firm, best personal injury lawyer 3 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. Visit them online at marcusandmack.com. Getting close to the top of the hour here, about 2.5 minutes away here on Indiana in the Morning. And that means a check of Fox News headlines right at 8 o'clock. And then I'll be back with the latest from the WCCS newsroom shortly after that. And Jake will have a check of sports as well.
Howdy. Want to trade your hog over yonder for my rowboat here? We got to do it before the sun goes down because I'm doing some day trading.
You tomfool, that's not day trading. You really get my goat.
Okay, I'll take your goat then.
Hi, this is Brad Peterson, Managing Director of InFirst Financial Advisors and Mosaic Institutions Investment Executive.